moon a little bit, connect to the higher octave moon energy, and then bring it to the moon that we see, and just give it a lot of healing love to help kind of rid it of this stuff. If it's just a satellite, then I don't know how it affects the ocean as much as it does, and how it affects, you know, tides and plants. I mean, I've been working with the moon for so long that I can't just say it's a satellite, because I really sense its power and beauty. I just know that it's a little bit, it's got a lot of issues based on, you know, just the way things are. But I love David Icke, and I just really appreciate a lot of his work, so I'm certainly not close to it, but I definitely was carrying a different thought in my mind before I heard that.
So let's look at it more than just, say, the moon in itself has been held hostage and is under a spell and emitting a different kind of a frequency as opposed to the one that it did before. And this is what I wanted to talk to you about, is just to kind of, you know, give a more of a, shed more light onto this, excuse the pun, because the moon has a beautiful light to it. Illuminari as well. You know, we've all heard of the Illuminati, but the moon beings were called the Illuminari, which I found quite interesting as well. So I was also thinking that if the moon was an artificial satellite, we can and sometimes we hear that the moon is a woman. It's also used as a motherly term as well. It seemed to me like the stepmother in Cinderella kind of a thing, or always we have in our stories, say Robin Hood even, there is King Richard, who is a good king, a kind king, and then he goes away for a while, and in his place is Prince John, who, you know, is insecure and selfish and cruel and so forth, right? And then basically Robin Hood comes and then prepares King Richard to return again, kind of a thing. So I see this again as a story of humanity and the journey that, you know, we have some other person watching over right now who doesn't have the best intentions and is insecure, and so they're doing that also with the moon as well. What are your thoughts on that? Did I explain that clearly?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that just sort of came to me when you were talking was the same way that chakras are affected, how they get clogged up, how they attract foreign energies and entities, and they don't spin as quickly as they could, and they're not integrated where the first chakra is getting communication from the higher chakras, and how you know, the communication between things gets so off that things are not doing like their role. They're kind of playing a different. They're coming from a different angle, and it's just kind of it's like not harmonious. It's chaotic, and so, you know, chaos is also the conditions between, you know, life, death, and new life. In that void between something manifesting is sort of the primordial sea of chaos again, where one can connect to the imagination, and the imagination is very fertile. So when we're moving from one thing to another, or something dies and we're waiting for something new to happen, that primordial sea of chaos can either throw us off and make us feel unbalanced, or we can say this is a time to be really creative and to allow our imaginations to come up with the next thing and be in charge as creative beings.
Yay.
All these different other stories, you know, bring in all these different forces that become foreign energy and clog up these, not just celestial bodies, but chakras. And, you know, Mars, my gosh, you know, Mars could be such a higher vibration, but, so I don't know if I'm answering that correctly, but that's just sort of paralleling a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We're a little bit all over the map, but that's good. That's how I prefer it. And I totally agree that our imagination is going to come in here and make things very, very different. You're also seeing that we will be doing, making some changes with Mars as well, taking back that place and healing it.
That's absolutely my work. It's, you know, it's like, okay, well, I could be right now planning the trip. You know, the target date was 2012, and I could be off planet, lured into the fact that, oh, this is positive, is to protect the human genome, and yeah, you know, I'm going to be used for this great role, and it's just like, yeah, right. You know, this is the Mars energy of dominance, of power, of patriarchy that wants to take me away from my mother source.
An ego, too. You are special, Laura. You are needed. You are the one kind of thing, right? Which can be a pitfall with being a speaker, too. Oh, you are the chosen one. No, it's everyone. Yeah, you know, I'm just doing one part. You know, we're all working together.
I say, you know who the chosen one is? Love and wisdom. And when we step up to that, we've chosen ourselves. I mean, the chosen one is when we choose ourselves. And when we step up to the plate, because every single person carries the vibration of whatever the chosen one is. Christ consciousness is a resource. The goddess energy is a resource. It's available to all, and it's also within. That whole chosen one, Messiah, Savior thing, Christ never even bought into, and it's just a bunch of, he just was a great being that we could look to remember our higher potential and our higher selves. And so, yeah, I mean, they kind of said some of that BS, and, and understood that my devotion and connection to Sophia, helps me really bring that energy to the planet and awaken it. I mean, it is the planet, it's Gaia. But I don't put myself in any kind of special category. I don't put myself above anybody. And, even coming from the Eisenhower family, I know Eisenhower didn't do that. It's not an Illuminati type vibration. It's all about justice, peace, equality, and balance.
Yeah.
And so that's very strong in me. And so those were key words of trying to make me feel special. That was a big red flag, on top of the fact that I would never, ever go to Mars. But felt that if I was to stay here on Earth, that I'd be working on healing Mars with the Venus vibration, and bringing it into alignment with divine will.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, we're already dealing with things that are happening on a cosmic level. The planets are doing what they're doing. There's alignments that are going to be happening. And the rays of unity consciousness are going to be streaming out of the galactic core. We could sort of sit back and say, yeah, but it's doing it anyway. All we have to do is sort of wait. But I mean, if we don't open ourselves to it and we don't bring it in, it's going to be happening out there, but it's not going to penetrate us.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times our higher selves are always available, but we bypass it and we block it. So we really want to pay attention to the fact that the cosmos is on our side. Everything happening in the cosmos and every alignment that's happening is serving our ascension.
Yes.
And they're taking advantage of this. They know all this. They know all the alignments and this and that. And that's why they plant false flags on extremely important days.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Japan tsunami was during the 9th wave Mayan thing, and other important days, are used. So also the Venus transits are drawing a pentagram in the sky. If astronomers have followed the direction that the celestial body has taken,
mm-hmm.
just following where it goes in the sky, and it's drawn a perfect star, a perfect pentagram, which turns the inverted pentagram that the Illuminatis worship back upright again, which is the alchemical transformation that spirit and the ethers brings it back upright again, instead of downward into matter, into the physical, where we're enslaved in the physical world. It's about spirit being the dominant force that shapes matter. And that's where we're headed. So the cosmos is on our side. We simply need to make ourselves available to it, mm-hmm. and trust that,
mm-hmm.
and not block it with fear, not block it with trying to sort out all the information to the point where we create a mental prison for ourselves.
And staying on Earth. Very important to stay on Earth when there is when a whole bunch of ETs are said to come, or
so glad you said that.
Mirror it like a return of Christ false,
blue beam.
Yeah, blue beam, basically, that, the Earth has been made a mess of. The economy is very destroyed. So funny, I cannot speak at all today. It's great. But you know what I'm getting at, that there's wars, there's disasters. Earth is such a scary, horrible place. Come with us, we'll take you to heaven, a better place, kind of a thing. And it really just reminds me of that Twilight Zone episode, to serve man. Just to ploy, because these Illuminati beings are so afraid of losing control of us, and knowing that they won't be able to do that on Earth, so that they'll have to take as many as they can, who are willing, who are thinking that this is how it's supposed to go, because they've been conditioned that way, whether it be through New Age or through religion or so forth, right? To go along with this, and it's for us also to. No, yes, like you're saying, that Earth is our home, and that we are here to make it beautiful, not that, okay, it's a mess, might as well go to another world and make a mess there, right? I mean, how does that make any sense?
If we don't figure it out here, we're not going to figure it out anywhere.
That's right, and that's what we're here to do, right? To learn how to take care of ourselves and each other and the planet. Therefore, we can lift the quarantine. To me, it seems like just a little kid that makes a mess of his room, and rather than cleaning it up, Mommy's going to clean it. No. Well, I'm going to move to another room that's perfectly clean. No, right? Clean it up, right? So, what are your thoughts on that?
I absolutely, agree. I just, some people are more concerned with the survival of the human flesh, and some people are more concerned with the evolution of the soul, or where the soul is going to be. And so I'm not worried about what's going to happen to Mother Earth. I'm not worried in the sense of, I guess, my own survival. I have devotion, and if that means I die, in a big cataclysm, that's fine. I don't care. I'm not here to try and keep my physical form. I'm not here to be ruled by death. I'm here to not be controlled, and I'm here to maintain my freedom and live in integrity and live from my heart. And my heart is devoted to Mother Earth. And I'm sticking with her through thick and thin. It doesn't matter what happens. So it was funny, because when I was getting the emails of why we need to go to Mars, the cataclysms and this and that, and we don't protect the human genome, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, that's a great idea. It's important to protect the human genome. But why does the mind control need to be there? Why am I being set up with an agent that's under your control? We're all born with creative energy. As we said in the beginning, we're all born with a will and a purpose. This is such a sabotaging thing to it. So, I mean, it's like any intervention we have to really question. We already do have a lot of intervention, but it's something we need to invoke, something we need to connect with as aspects of our higher self. If we're shut down and we just, are looking for a savior and we're really not awakening it within ourselves, we're very vulnerable to deceit. And for anything coming along and saying, oh, look at that weak one, we can say anything to them. Yeah. And we have to have discernment. We have to be so in touch with our intuition. It's really about the internal right now. And once we strengthen that and our intuition, we're going to be able to determine what's real and what isn't, and what's beneficial and what isn't. When we're completely out of touch, we're so easily just steered in this and that direction, especially when we're afraid. And especially when we think that it's all about the physical and we drop the bigger picture. Right. And so people who don't believe in reincarnation tend to be the ones that are afraid of losing the physical, whereas ones that are very multidimensional and know they've been here before and know that they're pretty much immortal, which we all are not ruled by those scenarios and are really looking for the greater good as an investment, not something that's in the immediate linear time, because there is no linear time. Yes. And that's why even when people say, oh, what happened in the life of Christ or what happened in this time to each other, and they're trying to find that out through books, I feel it's different for everybody. I don't think that anything in history is fixed. I think we all experience it in our own ways. Yeah. That everybody has their own story and connection to the Christ figure and what that means to them. And that when we start to think of it in terms of linear time and that this is what happened and this is how it happened, we lose that ability to see ourselves in the multidimensional freedom of being able to connect to different archetypes and aspects that we, experience both in our relationships and within.
Yeah, particularly when we set things in stone and say, this is how it is, it's the end-all be-all, we stop growing and we stop looking at things through kaleidoscopic eyes or understanding the holographic reality of how seeing through other people's perspectives and how their truth can be true as well.
And that's right. And so, even amongst ourselves, a lot of people are always presenting information. Well, this is really what happened, or this is really the truth. Right. And I tend to just like to people say, how do you experience it? What is your, that's where the truth is. Because it's the mind control is in adopting information and saying, oh, that must be it. Information should be to trigger either the feeling of, oh, that sounds right, or thank you for triggering my free thinking, and this is how I feel. It's great to share information, but not to the point where it takes us away from what we really think. I mean,
teaching people not what to think, but how to think, and not pushing your truth on, but helping people to discover their own truth and empower their own truth. That's the thing with these huge speakers right now, like Deepak and Eckhart. They're doing wonderful work, but so many people are looking at their truth and saying, oh, well, they've sold books and they are having these huge conferences and workshops and are quite successful, therefore their truth is more valid than mine, right? Because it's being more acknowledged and appreciated. And when we discard our truth and adopt someone else's as a dominant, then we're losing our pieces of the puzzle that we each have inside us that have been created before coming here, but also through our experiences while we're here, and our perspective and our truth and so forth, talents, passion.
Oh, look at the kitty cat.
That's my Pico. I was trying not to have him distract us during the conversation.
But yeah, I was just thinking back that last question you asked, and I did get kind of like onto a whole nother point, but
Go ahead.
I was just sort of reflecting on it, but I don't want to retrace our steps.
Yeah, we don't.
But I'll talk to you about that part later, because I just realized I kind of got off track with that one, but I do understand your point about it in connection to the moon and these sort of stories. And that's really the beauty of fairy tales and the deeper soul story, that we can be encouraged to write our own, and that this is what's screwed up about the television and about education, because we're just getting fed and bombarded with stuff all the time, and or we're reiterating the information in our own way, and I just think it'd be a beautiful thing to really start to write the myths and write the stories and where we are in the experience right now. And that's really kind of what we're expressing right now is that layer. It's really exciting.
For people to understand how dangerous it is to keep telling these stories over and over the way we are taught to perceive them, as opposed to looking at the deeper understanding of how we are creating it and living it. Every single story. I'm going to do a video I'm going to take some key stories and I'm going to show people how we are living them firsthand. And then also just that too, how we are so locked in our routine and structure. I mean, we should be able to invent new holidays at different times, right? And or adopt holidays from other countries, appreciation of other countries and so forth, rather than just, for example, Canada